Welcome to Let's Talk. This evening, we've been having some trouble with the load shedding and also being able to connect with other panel members who are supposed to be part of our show. But I can see our guest is here, uh, the president for Heritage Party, Chishala Kateka. Hope I'm pronouncing that name correctly. Let's
It,
add her to the stream. Can you hear me?
yes, I can hear you now.
Yes, yeah. I hope I pronounced your name correctly.
It is. For years,
Okay,
I used to pronounce my name as Kateka until I
okay.
learned how we got that name. My great
Uh-huh.
grandfather was married to 13 women, and he used to say Naribateka. So
Oh my goodness.
that's
The
how
team,
the
he was
name
a busy
stuck.
man. He was a
Yeah,
busy man.
he was a very busy man. So he would be drinking and he would say, Naribateka, all these 13 women. So that's how he got his name.
Oh my goodness. Wow. Um,
Yeah.
Thank you so much for joining us on Let's Talk. What's going to happen is we are going to kind of pre-record this session because there's a lot of people who wanted to join and still want to join. And in case people miss anything out, we'll make sure that we record the full session so that we're gonna let the broadcast to keep on running. Okay. Yeah, so today's topic, before we get into anything, today's topic is the Zambian youth in the post independence era. Now, when we talk about that, we're talking about how was it then compared to the youth we have now? Because obviously, the youth we have now are the type of youth that are jobless, they're looking for means and ways to make a quick buck, and then also they don't really understand politics. They also don't understand what it takes to develop a country in any way, or what it takes to support a political party and why they need to support a political party. But before we start, please, can you tell us just a little bit more of what it entails being a president of a political party and your experience with youth in your party, and just what is your definition? How do you define the post-independence youth?
Okay. So thank you so much for having me on this program. You've already shared my name,
Okay.
Shalakateka, president of the New Heritage Party. So this party was formed in 2001 by Brigadier General Godfrey Mianda, who deregistered the same in 2019. Uh, I was a founder member in 2001 of the Heritage Party. So I went to him and I said, look, the role that Heritage Party has to play in this nation, we have not yet done it. So we can't deregister it and forget about it. So we re-registered it in 2019, and we launched, no, in 2020, and we launched it end of 2020 and rebranded it. The most important change between the old Heritage Party and this new Heritage Party is the messaging that we have. It's important because it's really core to what we are doing, and I'll speak into that a little bit later. You have mentioned the fact that the youth of today are very, very different from the youth of, you know, times past. Um, at New Heritage Party, we don't like calling them the youth. We call them young adults. Why? Because when we call them the youth, it's like we are belittling them. And they continue to have that mindset that, we are just young people, and who are we? What can we do? What can we achieve? Now, when you compare the youth or young adults of yesteryear to the young adults that we have today, there's a big difference. The young adults before they seemed to mature at an earlier age, if you like. So by the time somebody is 21, they are doing amazing things. They're achieving things that a young adult at this time is not able to achieve. You find that somebody will be 40 and they still have a mind of a 25-year-old of old. So when you looked at, for example, the young adults, our first cabinet was comprised of young adults. They were very young when they got into politics. They became ministers, they became president, and they were able to do so much. So even though we got lost under UNIP. But when they started, they did amazing things that, is to be envied. And when you look at the young adults now, at 40, 45, they are still in their parents' homes, and it's a cause of concern. However, it is not something that we should lose hope over. I think that the older generation, that's us, um, have a big role to play in what happens, because we don't want to seem to pass on the baton. We talk about the young adults and say, oh, no, 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 these are the future leaders, etc. But we don't create an environment for them to nurture them and to groom them so that they can take up their rightful places. One of the things that I believe is that if we don't lead these young adults, we are missing out on a lot of the potential that this country has. You see, you cannot talk about the future of Zambia without taking these ones into account. And if we do not tap into this resource called young adults, then we are losing out on a lot of what we could do as a nation. Um, and how do we help them to transition? We don't really set out to tap into that, into that group of demography. We don't set out to deliberately lead them into a certain way. We just leave them like a forest to grow anyway, without trying to put them in a certain boundary so that they can go along a certain trajectory.
Okay.
So, in 2004, I started an NGO called Youth with a Vision for Zambia.
Okay.
This NGO was meant to help young adults to take up their rightful places in their communities, in the nation, in the political arena, and so on and so forth. And we were concerned, a group of us were concerned and said, why do we have such problems in this nation that seem so insurmountable? So we sat down and we thought about it and we discussed it and came to the conclusion that it had to do with mindsets. I'm sure you've seen in the Bible where it says, as a man thinks in his heart, so is he. So if you think wrongly, you will act wrongly. If whatever you do, it begins in the mind. Everything that we do begins in the mind. So if our minds are not okay, then we turn out to be the way we are. So what we did is we identified 23 mindsets that are common to Zambians, not just the young adults, but to Zambians. And identified that these are the mindsets that we have as Zambians, which prevent us from succeeding or moving forward. So what we did is we went out to every single town in 5 provinces. We went to the churches, we went to the schools, and we went into the marketplace and identified youth and worked with these. We shared with them the mindsets that we have and that prevent us from succeeding. We also worked with them because, like discipling them, and you are best able to disciple someone when you work with them, when you are able to do a project or a program with them, because then as you are working, you can say, no, 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 you don't do it this way, you do it that way, etc. And then we also engage them in role playing in terms of resolving solutions in their communities. So we said to them, go out into the community, identify the problems that are in your communities, and come up with a solution for them. Do some community transforming projects. We call them community transforming projects. And that's what we did. And we also kept communicating with them, teaching them certain values. And we found that some lives were really impacted, and some of these have turned out to be, you know, solid people in their communities. So it's something that can be done.
Right. Um, Thank you for that. We've come into a position where I don't think people understand what is it that affects change. We have been hearing so many things from different countries. You talk to someone coming from Zimbabwe, you talk to someone coming from Malawi or these different countries, and everybody's saying, "Oh, Zambia is doing really well." Okay, we hear that the economy has changed and things are really happening. Now, you are on the ground. Okay,
Yeah.
so what is the impact of this so-called change? Is there actual change, or are we saying there's progress? I mean, what are we saying? What do we tell the youth that doesn't actually understand politics, doesn't know anything about politics, just but he's hearing that things are actually going for the better? So how do we define this?
Change. Um, you know, one of the things that I, we as New Heritage Party keep saying to the government at the moment is, please, can you undertake something that will change the lives of the Zambians, the lives of the youths? It's well and good to say. So generally in an economy, you measure um, the economy using economic indicators. So you'll be using, you'll say, look, inflation has moved from this point to this point. Our foreign exchange is now at this point to this point, GDP, and things like that. But to the person on the ground, those are meaningless. So the other nations looking in will have those indicators to gauge where we are. But to the Zambian on the ground, they want to see, has the cost of fuel gone down? Has the cost of my living, has it gone down? Am I able to get a job? Am I able to put food on the table? Those are the issues that matter. So you can gauge the nation either using the indicators, or you gauge the nation from what the citizens are saying, because it's the citizens who are experiencing whatever it is that they're experiencing, whether life is easier or it is not easier. And for us as Zambians, I know I hear Malawans and Zimbabweans and some other African countries saying, wow, I wish we were Zambian and, I wish we were experiencing what the Zambians are experiencing. Meanwhile, the
Yes.
Zambians are saying, what? you know,
Yeah.
our fuel, which was at 17, 16 kwacha to 17, about 17 kwacha per
Hmm.
liter, is now at 27 kwacha something per liter. And
Wow.
I'm thinking, why are you even envying us? Because things seem to be worse on the
Mm.
ground than they were before. Um, of course, it takes time to transform, to reverse the whatever was done. But at the end of the day, Zambians want to see something happening. Of course, we know why the prices are going up.
Hmm.
We actually got a loan from the
Okay.
IMF, and these are the conditionalities that are attached to the loan. And that the conditionalities are that you need to lift the subsidies. So
Hmm.
the subsidies, it means that Zambians
Hmm.
are having to face the harsh reality of what is there, what is out there. And so, of course, the moment you increase fuel, that has a knock-on effect. So two things that are going to be done: the fuel as well as the power that you people in South Africa don't seem to have. But but the power um, is also going to be increased. And these two are very, very important input into any means of production. They are very important to any home, and it will have a knock-on effect, and it's going to make the cost of living, the standard of living of Zambians is going to change, not for the better, but for the worse.
Mm. Yeah. This we just recently the fuel just recently increased over here in South Africa, and so many things are changing. Uh, at the same time as other things are developing, of course. Yeah. But now, getting back to the Zambian youth in the post-independence era, okay? You just recently you said we had discussed, I think, a few weeks ago about the issue of heritage. You know what I remember from history and reading through, looking at tabloids and archives. What I remember from the Zambian youth in those days is they had a lot of passion. They understood why they were throwing stones. They understood why they needed to get back their country control of their situation. But right now, I think our youth has lost complete direction and understanding. Besides the fact of having a multi-party uh, uh, setup, we people need to understand why is it necessary, and then when they understand why it's necessary, they also need to understand what is the right of the Zambian. What is it that they have the right to do? And as a youth, is there any uh, is there a place for them in politics? Is there a place for them in parliament? Is there a place for them anywhere?
Yeah,
What?
okay.
Mhm.
So thanks again for that question. There's definitely a place for them in politics and in communities and in society. As a matter of fact, it belongs more to them than to anyone else.
Mm.
Because when you look at me, I'm fairly advanced in age, and therefore it's these ones who will take over and run with whatever needs to be done. So I think the problem has been that we have disregarded these the young adults. We've disregarded them. We have not bothered to groom them and to prepare them for leadership. We have not um, taken them under our wings and explained to them what, where we are, what it means, and what it will take to come out from where we are. They don't understand why we are still poor when we have so much wealth. The best people to understand that are those people who lived in colonial times, moved into the independence era, then they moved into the one party state, and then went into a multi party state. Because this history is quite important. It tells us what we need at any moment in time, um, at any moment in time. Now, if they don't have an understanding of who they are, where they have come from, who they are, and what they need to do in order to move forward, then they cannot become passionate just because you are a political party. You see, where Zambia is at the moment is not about politics. It's of course it's politics because you need the politics to get to where you need to, but you need to understand that we have a timeline as a nation. We have a timeline, and at
Right.
every point on that timeline, the needs at this point are different from the needs at another point. And
That's right.
therefore, the solution for the needs that you have at point A and the solution at point B are two totally different things. So, for example, in 1964, we needed independence. That was political independence. Hence, a party called United National Independence Party came to give us that independence. So, at that
Right.
point, that solution was UNIP coming to offer that solution. And they did that. They took us from one dispensation to another dispensation. 27 years down the line, our needs changed because late Kaunda had closed all the parties and we only had one party. And the economy was grinding to a halt and Zambians were suffering. So our needs at this point was not political independence. The need was democracy. We needed a multi-party system. So a party came called Movement for Multi-Party Democracy. You look at these two parties, they are redemptive parties because they take us from one dispensation to another dispensation. And Zambians at each of these 2 points realize we are fighting this battle. In this case, it was independence. In the other case, it was for democracy. And everybody pulled in the same direction to make sure that we were redeemed from colonialism, we were redeemed from a one party state. And everybody understood what was needed. The message was simple, and everybody was, they were all passionate about achieving what we needed to achieve. They played their role, and so on and so forth. But the politics that we have after that are not of a redemptive nature. So when you look at PF, they just came in and said, oh, we're going to do roads. What is there to be passionate about doing roads,
Yeah.
infrastructure? Yeah.
Yes.
And then the UPND government comes in and say, oh, we are going to fix, specifically, I will fix it. You know what I mean? So everybody else is watching the UPND fix this. What is there to be passionate about that? So as New Heritage Party, we believe we are one of the redemptive parties. We are coming with a message and we are saying, look, we've had two legs of independence, the political leg, the first leg, and the democracy. That's the second leg of independence. There's a third leg that's missing. You can't sit on a chair with two legs. You won't be comfortable. But if you have three legs, you begin to be comfortable. You can actually sit and balance on that stool. So this third leg of independence that New Heritage Party is talking about is actually, like our name suggests. UNIP suggested independence, MMD
mm,
suggested democracy. We are talking about heritage.
mm,
Heritage is what the wealth that God has left to the Zambians. That's our heritage. And
mm,
and and that's what we are supposed to live by as Zambians. Zimbabweans have got their wealth. South Africans have got their wealth. So, coming back to Zambia, we have not had a leadership in Zambia that marries the wealth of this nation to the people of this nation. And until we marry the Zambians to their wealth, we will continue to wallow in poverty.
mm,
So we are saying Zambia is our heritage, the wealth in this country. We need to come up with policies that will ensure that Zambians partake of their wealth and also become the masters of the means of production. Zambians should be able to produce, we must produce our own wealth, and then we must partake of that wealth. And that's the third leg of independence. It's a financial and economic independence. That is the third leg of independence. So, yes, so what we are doing as New Heritage is going out into the compounds, into the villages, into the towns, and radios, on TV, and speaking to people and say, Duane, if we don't do this, if we don't understand what it is that we need at this time, we are going to just go round and round in circles. So, when you engage the youth and you get them to understand the way they fought for independence, the way they fought for democracy, and the way that we is the way we should fight for this heritage. So that is why we are so keen that, and in fact, we go to great lengths and work very hard to get the Zambians to catch that message so that we pull in the same direction as we did in 1964, as we did in 1991, to ensure that we get this third leg of independence. It's actually very crucial. As you can see, I know you're in South Africa. I don't know whether, you know, if you've had the opportunity of following what is happening here. We seem to be giving away our nation, you know,
mm,
and that is it's a sin. It's
yeah,
it's
yeah,
it's it's a, it's like an Esau spirit where you give away your birthright,
yes.
and this is
The,
what is happening.
not to interject, the you see what we are seeing on this side is you are seeing the reality. What we are seeing is more it's being shown as investment. Do you understand what I'm saying? Where we're having a lot of investment uh, prospects, and a lot of organizations and other countries are having more and more interest in joining Zambia in different commodities, and this is helping Zambia develop. But then the reality of things is that at the end of the day, we won't have anything left to claim. Am I right by saying that?
Sorry, it has just started raining here, so you have to speak up.
Oh, okay. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yes. What I was saying was, it look from this end, it looks like people want to invest. Things are going well in the sense that people are joining in buying commodities, but mostly I hear it's land and mines that are being bought out. So I don't know whether that's a good thing for Zambians, and because people are getting money in their pockets, does that mean more prosperity, more money in their pockets, or are we saying we are selling our country?
You see, When you do, you know this. When you constantly do the same thing, you will constantly get the same results. This
Mm-hmm.
is 58 years after independence, and this is what we have done before. You bring in the foreign direct investors. There's a certain model. You give them tax breaks. You reduce the mineral royalty tax, and now we have even gotten rid of the visa. They've waived the visas
Oh
for
wow.
for certain countries, for North America, Europe, the UK, and the Far East. But we haven't waived the visas for African countries. Now, you are trying to encourage them to come into the country to invest, which is fine. You need investors, but don't forget that investors come to make a profit. They come to make a return on their investment, get that money, and get out of the country,
That's
leaving
right.
the Zambians in the same space. If we
Mm.
don't do things differently, we are not going to get different results. You know, if we are going to do the same old situation, then Zambians will continue to be the way we go a lot into the rural areas, and what we see there is a situation where Zambians, the way they were in 1964 is the way they are now. Let me give you an example of Kagem Mines.
Mm.
Kagem Mines is here on the Copper Belt. I'm not too far away from where they are. It is probably the richest emerald field in the world with the best emeralds.
Mm.
On top there are very, very, very poor people.
Mm.
I just want to show you the model of mining, and it's not making sense to me. On
Mm.
top there are some very, very poor people. Underneath are these billions worth of dollars. And just the other day, they found the biggest emerald ever, which they are going to auction and sell for millions of dollars. When
Mm.
they do that, these people on top here do not get a single ngwe.
Mm. Mm.
You
Mm.
see, where's the justice in that?
Mm.
They just remain poor as they've always been, and yet underneath them are the means of getting them out of that poverty. So if we don't change our policies, uh, we won't get anywhere. I also just want to share this with you, by the way.
Mm.
Um, when a person buys a Rolex watch, right?
Okay.
Very expensive Rolex watch, and he's walking along, and that Rolex watch falls into a crack. Okay, he bought this Rolex watch. Now, because he's on the large side, he cannot retrieve that Rolex watch. So he calls a slim young man to come and help him to get that Rolex watch out.
Mm.
When
Mm.
that watch is in that hole, that watch still belongs to him, isn't it?
Of course, yes.
Yes.
Mm.
Now, this young man comes and helps him to retrieve that watch. Who's the owner of that watch?
Still the same man.
Still this the first man.
The first man, yes.
Now, what we do in mining, and many countries, of course, what has always happened, but don't forget that mining started when we were being pre-independence days, and we were being exploited. So the model of mining that we have followed is a
Mm-hmm.
very, very unfair one, because the minerals down there belong to us. Okay, it's like the man with the Rolex watch. So the
Mm-hmm.
minerals down there belong to us. So
Mm.
somebody comes and they say, oh, can you give us a mining license? And they pay a little bit of money for that mining license. And then we give them everything that is down there. It's like that man with the Rolex watch giving the person who retrieved that watch and said, "Oh, you've picked up this watch, it's now yours." It doesn't work like that. What you do is you give that man an appreciation, a token of appreciation. Thank you so
That's right.
much for helping me
Mm,
to pull
mm,
out that Rolex watch. You don't give that Rolex watch to this man simply because he pulled it out of the ground. The
yes.
model of mining that we are doing is we are giving away all our wealth. You know, you they get a mineral license, and you give them everything that is down there. And by the way, our policies are such that if I give you a copper mining license,
Mm.
whatever else you find down there is yours. You
Oh
know,
my
so
word.
you know you will find silver, you'll find gold, you'll find
Mm.
whatever, but you only need to declare the copper. So we are losing billions worth of dollars through
Oh.
the model of mining that we are doing.
Mm,
I don't know how we can change this, but I think that we really need to rethink the way we do our mining.
mm,
I think the minerals should belong to the nation. I think we should get people on contract to come and help pull out those minerals.
yes.
And the minerals still belong to the Zambians, and you pay
Of
them
course.
for that service.
Of course. Yes.
Yeah.
It needs to be some form of exchange table. We don't have to write out, sell everything, sell our rights. But I think this has to do with information also. Most of
Yeah.
the Zambians don't know what you have just explained now. They don't know that it's possible for us to still gain by not selling everything. But
Yeah.
and then when we really think about it, who's gaining the most? Is it the one
Well,
that's
it's certainly not us.
yes?
I want to link this back to the youth, by the way,
Hmm.
because you see, the wealth that God has left in this nation belongs to
Yeah,
Zambians. It belongs to this generation, the next generation, and the next generation.
that's right.
So
Yeah.
the way we deal with things is going to impact on the future generations. Now,
Mm,
I'm in a very, very good position to help Zambians because I understand issue. I understand issues probably better than most Zambians. Of course, there are many, many experts out there in different fields,
mm,
but I've had an opportunity that enables me to
mm,
understand issues. And also, I have access to individuals that are experts in their own fields. And besides, I don't have to know everything, but I have to know enough about everything.
mm,
And then also having the main reason why I'm doing this to help the nation of Zambia to get into its rightful place.
mhm, mhm.
And I have lived, like I said to you before, in colonial times, independence, one party state, and in a multi party situation. So I've learned a lot, I've seen a lot, I read a lot, and I'm in a position to be able to help. I'm of the view that, you see, when we point the youth or the young adults in the right direction, if you give them the information, these young people are not down. These young people have got solutions that even I haven't thought about, maybe you haven't thought about. You know, we always look down on them, but if we equip them and point them in the right direction and say,
That's
guys,
correct.
this is where we need to go. These are the obstacles. What do we need to get them involved. Only then will they become passionate and
Mm,
engaged in what we are doing. We've seen young adults, as we have gone around talking to Zambians, sharing our message, the heritage message, about our wealth, which belongs to
yes.
Zambians. We
Mm,
have seen them suddenly, they are awake,
okay.
and
Yeah.
and they agree with this. But then if we just leave them and say, those kids, they are just drunkards, etc.,
mm,
etc.,
mm.
then we are not helping them at all. When it's
That's right.
their turn to become leaders, what sort of leaders will they make if we
Mm.
don't point them in the right direction?
Yes, I think that's the main point that we're trying to actually get to in this discussion, is that who is going to educate, who is going to inform our youth right now, and then also how do we change the narrative? Uh, and I believe this discussion cannot finish in one setting. So I'm hoping that we can have you back again as we sort out some of the panelists that were supposed to join us this evening. But I believe that the only way we can get the message across is if we continue to speak out, and we continue to allow people to be able to understand and educate them. There's no one is going to come up and say, youth, come together, let's do this properly, because there's no one giving the right information. You see, the tabloids only show men, mostly elderly men, fighting for power. Okay, and they get the seats and then they forget what they promised. Okay,
Yeah.
and then so to understand that if we are going to get a new breed to come on board, they need to be mentored, they need to be informed, well informed, and they also need to understand the process, the political process. It's not about just bringing change, it's about being conscious of what is required as a leader in order to be consistent and be able to allow progress and what can we call it, change to filter through even into the grassroots level. Yeah. So as we end off this session, just wanted to know what do you have to say to our youth and also to the Zambian people, to those also in diaspora, uh, as what would you say would be the way forward? I know we'll be hearing from you again, but I wanted to just so that we've actually laid the foundation for for bigger topics, and also to stretch out this topic a little more. But I just wanted to hear just a little bit about how you would end off. What is your take home as far as what do you see us doing as far as the youth are concerned, and what message do you want to give to them?
Um, the message to the youth and to Zambians is that we must not despair. We must not think that we are in a hopeless situation. We are not in a hopeless situation. Um, we need to fight and get back Zambia for the Zambians. Get back Zambia and give it to the Zambians. We don't mean in a xenophobic way, the way it happens in some other countries, where you start kicking. No, no, no. There's no need. We just need to put policies in Zambia that will ensure that Zambians benefit from our wealth, that we
Mm,
do not leave the owners of that wealth destitute. Now, how do we do that? It's raising awareness. So you hear this message, you go and tell 10 others, and those 10 others go and tell 10 others, because it will require a political platform.
mm,
There's no way we can change this narrative if we are outside of,
mhm,
a place of authority. We need that place of authority in order to change certain policies. And so on our flyer, the first point that we have made as New Heritage Party is we want to tilt the economic balance of power towards Zambians, because currently it is always others, not Zambians, it's other people who always benefit more than the Zambians. The economic balance of power in Zambia is tilted away from Zambians. And we are saying the time has come for us to tilt this economic balance of power towards Zambians. So we need to work together and come to a place where we can get that political platform and begin to do the right things for Zambia.
Thank you so much. It has been really, we're really grateful for you taking your time to come and talk to us and also be able to educate us a little more on what's happening on the ground. Um, if anyone wants to get in touch with you or with the party or want more information, is there a website or anything that they can log into?
Um, okay, we've got a Facebook page, New Heritage Party, and there's also another Facebook page, Tshala Kateka for President. I'm also on LinkedIn, I'm on Twitter, and I'm on WhatsApp. So any
The
of those, sorry?
The Facebook page is called what?
Sorry?
The Facebook page is called.
There are two Facebook pages. There's New Heritage Party Facebook page.
Okay.
There's also Tshala Kateka for President Facebook page.
Okay. Okay, and then New Heritage.
Yes.
New Heritage Party. Or just
Yes.
New Heritage. Okay.
New Heritage Party.
Okay. Heritage. Okay. All right. Okay. Because I'm sure some would like to. Okay, so yeah, so it's Tshala Kateka for president or
Yes.
at Heritage Party. Okay. Thank you so much. We hope we can have you back again. We definitely will be inviting you back again because we know with the youth, you need to pound the message a few more times before it gets through. So we would love to really uh, continue with this discussion as there's hundreds and hundreds of questions, and we know there's a lot of youth that want to ask these questions. So we hope to have you back on the show again uh, next time. So thank you so much, and we are glad we had you here.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me. Have a good night.
You too. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for joining us on Let's Talk. We should be having the Heritage President Tshala Kateka next week again, I hope, so that we can continue this discussion. And also, we'll have our panel guests who are supposed to be here to be able to discuss and ask the questions. So stay tuned and continue to support as we